Welcome back to Moonstar Sailor Moon podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Alex Summers, and we just wanted to check in and hope you all enjoyed Halloween Rainbow, the Rainbow Bright special with Renee Stowe and Chris. Also, if you haven't had a chance yet to check out the first episode of Moonstar Radio featuring Chris and Linda Ballantyne, who was the voice of Sailor Moon from seasons 3 and 4 of the original North American dub, now is a really great time to go ahead and do that. It should be the episode prior to this on the Moonstar feed. But here is a highlight that I particularly loved from the interview. And this moment just made me love Linda in the role of Sailor Moon that much more.
No, not Emily Claire Barlow, not Venus then. It was Mercury. Who was the second Mercury?
Oh, Liza Balkan.
Yes. So Liza I'd see every now and then. And one time I was flying to like Barbados or something like this, and I get on the plane, and right across from me is Liza. I'm just like, I said, "Hey, how's it going?" She's like, "Oh, hi." And it was sort of weird because we were so out of context, right? It's sort of like, I know you. Hey, what? Are you kidding? We're the Sailor Scouts, man. So the plane takes off. And as it's taking off, there's all kinds of sort of trembling and stuff like this. And, they've got, the wheels go under, but there was just some kind of trembling. And she was a very, very nervous flyer. Really, really nervous. I think there was something that had happened before too. Like there was some banging or something. And I remember her calling over the flight attendant and saying, there's some banging that's happening underneath my seat. And I'm really worried about this. And so when it was taking off and it was kind of all, and I could see her knuckles just go totally white. And I looked over at her and I put my hand over onto her hand and I said, "It's okay. We're Sailor Scouts. We can save this plane. We're going to be just fine." And she looked at me like, "You're crazy, lady." We didn't crash. We're fine. We were fine. We saved it.
Before we go back to our roots and start discussing the show episode by episode, we are going to take a moment here and bring you some merch news that was recently dropped online about the upcoming Sailor Moon 30th anniversary. This is all taken from Crunchyroll, so if you want to go read the full article there, feel free. But essentially, Sailor Moon, which will be celebrating the 30th anniversary, is going to be releasing a 12-inch vinyl record album that features 2 LPs with music from both the 1992 TV series as well as Sailor Moon Crystal. And when it's 12-inch vinyl, so not a CD, not a whatever else, it's like the record. The track listing is available online if you want to go ahead and check that out. And these records are going to be released on February 18th of 2023 in Japan, and it should retail for about 5,800 yen, so $39.25 US. I mean, $40 basically. I mean, something around there. I don't see anything about an American release date yet. These may or may not actually be localized. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys about that. That's kind of exciting. Always love to see new merch coming out. And let's get on with the show. See ya.
It's the one where that the new theme park opens up in town.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's I remember there's a scene with the choo-choo train and Darian's on it, and you get some of the stuff with Ray being into Darian.
Right.
And then they had all about she has that apple thing, like her magical apple to control everything. What do you remember about that one?
Well, I know that was one of the episodes that, for the VHS of the original series, that was one of the tapes that I owned as a kid. And I just think that even though it's funny because the animation director / character designer for that episode, Masahiro Ando, is what most people consider to be the worst person to work on Sailor Moon.
Wow.
But I think that particular episode doesn't look terrible, but I mean, like other episodes he did later on, I mean, yeah, his art style is kind of crap compared to everybody else.
That's so funny because when I do the watch through later today, I'm going to pay closer attention to it. In my memories, it doesn't stick out to me as being like anything. Like I don't remember watching that episode and being like, this looks weird or anything.
Yeah.
If anything, it sticks out to me as one of the more creatively done Monster of the Week episodes. I liked that it also, Sailor Moon has a thing about dreams, and they hit that, which I've noticed. So I think this might be one of the first times they focus on it. I'm curious to see how often that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
I love the apple aspect of it too. I don't know. I remember the animation being cool, and like when her head turns. Do you remember her head turning around all the way when she turns into a doll? That was very creepy.
Yeah.
This isn't the guy who did the cassette tape episode, is it? It's not.
What do you mean? Do you mean the same animator?
Yeah, it's not with the one you mentioned we talked about last time that was very like 20s, like 1920s detective.
No, that was somebody else. Yeah.
Okay, I thought so because they do look different from that.
No, some other episodes that I know off the top of my head that Masahiro Ando did. He did Rei's Pure Heart episode. He did Makoto's Pure Heart episode. Like a bunch of them, but yeah, he's like if you look him up in comparison to like not just Ito, but I mean you can't really compare anybody to Ito, but like pretty much any other animator in Sailor Moon, usually most people say that Ando is like the worst artist that worked on it. But his episodes in season 1 and season 2, I guess, looked fine. And I think my personal favorite episode just that he worked on is Makoto's Pure Heart episode, but I wish that one had a different animator just because I love the plot of that one.
Do you think maybe the reason why the quality of his went down later is because of the schedule? Like we know what was going on there with like the overworking and stuff. And maybe he was just one of those people that cannot produce quality at a higher speed. Maybe that's why.
Potentially, yeah. I'm sure that had maybe a lot to do with it. I don't know. Like, I mean, some people's art styles just don't really change over time.
Interesting. And his name was, say it one more time.
Masahiro Ando.
And then the guy we talked about from the other episode was...
Oh, that was Kiyoshi Matsumoto.
So those two we've seen as distinct standouts. Do you know who did the most? Like, what is the person that is responsible for a majority of Sailor Moon?
Well, it pretty much changed by like every season. Unfortunately, Ando probably I know he did a lot of them like throughout all 5 or at least the first 4. I don't know who like the single most person is. I know he did a bunch of them. Unfortunately, like the best animators to work on the series didn't do, as many because those are the episodes that cost more money to make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would have to double check that. I know that Masahiro is one of them, but I'm not sure who like the number 1 person is.
There's one episode that we mentioned once already with the 2 animators in it.
Yeah.
And I feel bad pointing this out, but I can't help it because it brings me so much joy. There's a scene in that episode where the animator with short hair, one of her eyes is like 2 centimeters lower than the other one.
Yeah.
And and you combine that with the extreme choice of like in the dub, the like wildly southern accent that this person, it was like what am I trying to, it's not Steel Magnolias, it's the Gone with the Wind. It was like Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
With this like clearly lesbian animator who's into this other girl. And then she's just walking and her eye is like melting off her face. And I'm just like,
I know we're lucky, just students and working on the Sailor V movie, but it's so hard.
Don't quit. Not now. At least wait till the movie's finished, Lori.
I'm not gonna quit. I want to see my name in the credits at the movie theater.
Right. And we passed the class. Come on, race you to the studio. Let's go.
Hey, wait up! I wasn't ready. Cassie, this isn't fair.
Hey, wait! You dropped something.
I think this is my favorite thing that's ever happened the entire fucking show. Besides maybe the pizza throw, I think everyone loves that.
Yeah.
In Sailor Stars. But anyway, in the fight scene, I know it's the first time we see them do the triple combo where it's like the bubbles, the tiara, and the fire all at once. And just for fun, because I saw someone theorizing about this somewhere, they were like, what do you think the bubbles are actually doing here? Because they're kind of like orbiting this like red hot tiara. So I get that part. And I'm curious, do you have any thoughts on that? Would you like to do that mind experiment?
Well, I mean, from what I can remember offhand, in a lot of cases, that Shabon spray, that like Mercury's first attack, is more meant to, whenever it's used in a combo or even just as a general attack, it's more used as a way of clouding the enemy's vision or not making them able to see anything around them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's more what it was used for in most cases. So
I agree with that. I think on this specific animation, they sort of show it combining, like it looks, so you see the tiara get hit by the fireball and then it turns red. And then it gets like hit by the bubbles and they start kind of going around it. And I think kind of playing off of what you were saying though, perhaps the bubbles, like we can see what's going on because we're the audience, right? But from the monster perspective, maybe the bubbles literally like they can't see the object coming at them at that point. And you know, I know this is a show and none of it's real, but I like to think about it in depth like that because it makes it a little more fun. But anyway, so it's the first time we see that where it's a triple combo. Are there any other like link up technique moments in the show that you can remember off the top of your head that you think are particularly cool?
Oh yeah, I guess it does sort of count, but even though I don't think it ends up doing anything, but the episode of S where I don't remember like what number it is, but the one that's set in the planetarium where the monster is, it's based off the planet, like stars and stuff. And then all three of the outer scouts, I think that's like one of the first times where Hotaru shows her like majorly evil side for longer than just a minute, and then all three of the outer scouts combine all three other attacks to send like a big thing to her, and it doesn't end up doing anything. But I think that was pretty cool, and I don't think that Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto ever did that any other time in the anime. So.
I think you're right. I think that's the only time that happens. I think we get the most typical thing with them is like a Neptune opening attack and then a Uranus follow-up typically. Which is kind of a cool way to think about, because she sort of is like weakening them or exposing their weakness, and then Uranus steps in and is like, I'm the strong lesbian or whatever, kills them. Okay, cool. I don't know. I love the outer so much too. And there was this old, back in the day when people would make fan-made Sailor Moon games a lot because we barely had anything. Someone
Yeah.
started one that was like them, and it was supposed to tell their story growing up on their planets as like young children and how they like, and it was such a cool idea that I wish someone would sort of take that and just run with it now and see what happens. I might do that for fun someday, but I would love to see that because I was thinking about like with the outers, if you took away Sailor Moon and the inners and all of their like bullshit, and you just have the outers doing their thing, because their whole job is to protect like the solar system before aliens get to Earth, right? Isn't like that their whole deal? So I would love to see like, what is that like when it's just them? And like, what are they dealing with before shit even gets to us that we don't even see? You know, I would love to see that kind of a side world.
Well, because that actually does make me think that, you know, something I've always been curious about that has never really been expanded upon in any media so far is in the Tuxedo Mirage ending theme, like how you see all of the beautiful Ito renderings of all the women, all the girls in their actual princess and queen counterparts playing across the little tiny like mirror or whatever that is that you can see in that ending theme. I always wish that there was some kind of OVA or special that just focused on, you know, them in that whole realm, you know, all their like princess and queen forms.
That would be really cool to get, like, you know what I think would be the best media for that actually? If we could get Nintendo to actually do it seriously, a video game that was just like Sailor Moon, the prequel almost, and it was that time period, because they would have so much creative freedom with it, and like Naoko Takeuchi could do. I was gonna say, I think if they were to go that route with it, it would be a way to bring in like more people to the Sailor Moon world that maybe wouldn't find it otherwise too, because in my opinion, the Sailor Moon universe is so perfect for RPG games. I don't know why we only have one. When you think of like, I'm an interdisciplinary person, so I love combining everything. Do you do that? Is that something you think about? Or are you kind of just like, this is Sailor Moon, it is canon, and I like it, and the end?
Well, I guess in most anime that and like Japanese media that I consume, I tend to like things that and like focus on things that are canon and actually happen. But I don't know, I guess in certain circumstances it's cool to see, you know, what people come up with if the writing is really good and believable.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like that we have an opposite opinion on that because it makes it more interesting. It's like I also see your point at the same time, because there are so many horribly made like fan Sailor Moon games. There's so many horrible Sailor Moon fan fictions that like I just would never read because I don't need that poisoning my mind about, you know what I mean, like about the show. So I totally can see that point of view too. I kind of tend to bounce around and like if I can combine something I like with something else I like, I'm like, why would I not do that? That sounds fun. And also possibly very chaotic, but whatever. You know, why not? Let's see. One of the episodes I think I didn't have you for was Time Bomb. You brought that one up earlier. Do you want to talk about that one a little?
I kind of vaguely remember that. I mean, I know that was, I think, also one of the episodes I remember seeing on a tape when I was really young. I mean, I would have to like watch it again now, but like the original version. But I don't know. I don't really like episodes in any kind of anime, regardless, where characters are like trapped in a one certain dimension or something for the entirety of an episode. Mostly.
You said you don't like them?
No.
Why not? I'm just curious. I think I might know, but
I because there's only like maybe so much you can do. Especially, well, I think it's different now with updated animation and potentially better voice acting in terms of English dubs anyway. But I just think back then it was trickier to pull that off and have it be consistently enjoyable and believable, at least for me.
no, I get that. And I think you're probably right. One thing, I think Time Bomb specifically in the manga, the reason they're in the other dimension is because Mercury actually puts them there to protect the environment, which in that reasoning and the way that it's done in the manga, I actually really love that. But like, I get what you're saying to it, and I think if it had been more than just that one episode, I think I would have felt what you were saying immediately. But because it was like just the one, I don't think I picked up on that so much. But I've watched a lot of DBZ growing up, and I feel like they do that a lot. Did you watch that show a lot?
Yeah.
Is that it's kind of like, I want to say, I don't know if it's the same thing, but if you remember when Goku is traveling to Namek to fight Frieza and he's training, there are like so many episodes of him just doing push-ups in a spaceship where he's like turning up the gravity slowly and he's just getting more and more like buff. And I'm just like, I'm a gay man and I'm bored. Like, what the, like, what, do something. I think that's the same kind of concept.
Alex here. As you can tell, this episode, when we were recording, did not stay very focused. There's a couple reasons for that. The main thing, and we mentioned on the other episode, is that we were going through something kind of tough on our end. We lost a pet. So this was more of a just random discussion that lightly touched on the episode Nightmare in Dreamland. And because of that, I'm going to cut off the randomness of the conversation before it devolves any further. I mean, we talked about all kinds of things. We talked about how to process relationships properly and like card captor Sakura, and then animation styles. I might consider putting together cuts from when Chris and I talk about things that are unrelated and throwing them up on the Patreon as a Patreon only podcast. But you guys are going to have to ask for that directly, otherwise I'm not going to do it. So if that's something you want, email us at sunshinefarmentertainment@gmail.com, put in the subject, give us the Patreon podcast, and if I get at least 20 or so, I guess, actual messages asking for it, then we will launch that. Otherwise it's not really worth it. So let's do a little just one-on-one with you guys and me here about this episode, in case you are really just wanting to hear about the episode.
Wouldn't you know it? We finally get to go to the way coolest amusement park, only to discover not such amusing things going on there. Luckily, Tuxedo Mask comes to our rescue. It's gonna be really great, so stick around!
This is the episode plot, which mostly is taken from the Sailor Moon dub wiki, which if you're looking for information about Sailor Moon, by all means, check them out, donate, whatever. Anyway, Serena and Ray are often getting into arguments. Serena, Ray, Luna, and Amy decide to go to Dreamland, which is an amusement park that people are disappearing from. Obviously, everyone suspects it's the Negaverse, and of course, it's Jedi who's behind it, where they're setting a trap for the Sailor Scouts, because Queen Beryl is angry that there's now 3 of them, whereas it started out with just Sailor Moon. They spend time in the park at first, like Serena goes on the merry-go-round, Amy, Ray, and Luna are investigating. There's a buffet of some kind, but while riding on a train, Serena and Ray see Darien, who calls Serena Meatball Head again, which is the way they took Odongo, the insult he used in Japanese, which I think I'm correct. I might be saying it wrong, but And that was what Meatball Head was their funny way of translating it, I guess, at the time in the 90s dub. Ray latches onto this nickname for her, and this is where we first see her use it for Serena as well, and then it becomes a running thing that I think kind of dies out towards later on in the series, actually. We'll have to pay attention. Either way, the Dream Princess appears and uses her breath to put everybody to sleep and drains their energy using an apple that she holds, which it's very like the poison apple from Snow White. Yeah, we all got it. Serena and Ray transform into Sailor Moon and Sailor Mars and enter the Dream Factory, where they confront the Dream Princess. She transports them into a dream world, which Chris kind of mentioned about like the alternate dimension thing. Here you don't really feel it because it's more of an illusion that they're seeing that comes and goes. Think of Sailor Moon Super S the movie when they get tricked into almost taking a bite out of the playground equipment because it's made to them it looks like a gingerbread house and they're all little kids because they're in the dream, right? She transports them to the dream world where she gives Sailor Moon a wreath, but Sailor Mars takes it, and at the last second, just as the Dream Princess is about to put it on Sailor Moon's head, it turns into a snake, which bites Sailor Mars, starting to turn her to stone. With her fireballs charged, which is the Accio Ryo Tyson, the charm papers, she uses them to stop the curse, and the Dream Princess transforms into her true form, which is very creepy, and her head spins around a whole bunch, and her dress changes colors. I think it turns red. And she's named the Dream Dolly, which is her true form. Amy wakes up from being put to sleep and transforms into Sailor Mercury and uses Mercury Bubble's blast to confuse Dream Dolly, and Sailor Mars places a scroll on her face to freeze her. Sailor Moon and Sailor Mars combine Moon Tiara magic and Mars Fire Ignite and destroy Dream Dolly. The Dream Factory turns to dust as Jadeite again flees the scene. Oh, some interesting notes about this episode. And this is a correction from earlier in this episode, actually. We don't see all three attacks combined in one animation. That's in a later episode. Here we just see the first appearance of Moon Tiara Magic and Mars Fire Ignite being used as a combination attack. Also, Ray and Serena have their first official fight, which becomes a running theme throughout the series. And also, I thought this was kind of funny. It's the first episode where neither Molly or Melvin appear. I thought they could have had a cute time including them in the dream world, like having them come there and maybe get captured, or they could have been put in danger by the dream. I think they could have elevated it by including them, to be honest. But anyway, that's just a fun detail. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know it was a little bit more haphazard, but going ahead, we officially have Chris as the co-host now, and we're hoping things will be a little more structured now that we've kind of processed everything with the animal and all of that. So yeah, I hope you guys stick around, and definitely go and check out the interview we mentioned at the beginning of the episode with Linda Ballantyne. That's just going to make you love watching seasons 3 and 4 of Sailor Moon so much more. I promise you, she's so much like Sailor Moon. The character is like the goofiness and the determined. Trust me, it's a great interview. Go listen to it. That's the previous episode on our feed, or you can watch it on Chris's YouTube channel. That's just Chris Mayek, Mayek, on YouTube. And we're going to close out the show there. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday as we watch through Sailor Moon one episode at a time and take you guys along for the ride. It's been a blast so far, and I can't wait to see what's coming next. So stay tuned.
Good,
Because
Peace.
we need Mercury.
The apple! She's going to try to zap our energy!
I'll take it away.
You'd better fight together this time.
Right.
You all set, Sailor Scouts?
Ready.
Mercury bubbles! blasted!
It's okay. We're Sailor Scouts. We can save this plane.